Welcome back to the Imaginary Gallery. This is TJ, your host, and we're in the Narcissist bag of tricks. And this video will be a combination of several of their tricks and how they interrelate together, including their dishonesty, lack of accountability, inability to self-reflect, and how overall life with such a person in it can lead to nothing but a dead-end road. Either way, this should snap you back to reality. The key ingredient with your cluster B, narcissist, or whatever you want to call it, would be the dishonesty factor. Lies. Lies are very comfortable for this type of person, I have discovered. Whereas most of us in real life, we tell the truth repeatedly as much as possible, aside from little white lies, like if you're tired and somebody says, like a boss says, "How are you?" "I'm great." Well, but lies are one of their big skills. Plus, couple that with the fact there's no remorse, there's no shame, there is no guilt, which means this type of personality disordered individual can very easily walk up to their teacher and say, "I won't be able to make it into class tomorrow because my mother is having surgery and I have to be there for her," when really it has a party to go to and doesn't want to have to go to school because it'll be drunk and on drugs. And the teacher, of course, will be like, "Oh, I appreciate you sharing this with me," and blah, blah, blah. And the cluster B monster will feel nothing except joy, feel nothing except duper's delight hearing the teacher say that. That's just a sample of how these people operate. And I've read quite a few books about these types of subjects, whether it's sociopath, psychopath, or all the others. A few of them have started out to try to get you, the reader, to understand, where they say things like, imagine if tomorrow you woke up and realized that you could do or say anything to anyone and there would be no negative consequences at all. Imagine what you would do. Meaning, if you hate your teacher and she always tries to cut you down and say you're a horrible student, it would be like you'd think, well, I'd go into class and walk right up to her and slap her in the face and tell her what I think, which you would never do in real life, but in this fantasy you could. Well, guess what? This is the way these cluster B monsters work. However, they're not necessarily going to be that overt about it. No, they're more sneaky about it. So if they hate that teacher, for example, they wouldn't walk up to her and tell her what a witch she is. No, they would secretly poison her coffee or secretly destroy her car or something hidden. But regardless, a regular person would feel guilt, remorse, or shame for doing such a thing, but not so with the person you're dealing with. Keep that in mind. But the main thing is, they are able to lie easily, which all of us, everyone lies, even if it's to maintain social harmony, like when your good friend has a new hairdo that looks retarded and walks up to you and says, "Hi, what do you think of my new look?" Well, if she's really happy and pleased and you want to be her friend, you might say, "Oh." In fact, you might even just say, "That's different." And "Thanks," instead of, "That's the most retarded thing I've ever seen." Oh, you won't do that. But this lying skill that these people, these creatures have, serves a purpose. Control. I think a long time ago I covered disinformation is used to control you and the situation. This all lies in the fact that other people outside the Cluster B monsters make decisions daily based on what they know. Well, the Cluster B creature knows this, of course. So let's just, for example, say you've met one of these Cluster B creature monsters, and it is pursuing you for a date. If you know anything about the Cluster B monsters, more than likely there are at least 4, 5, 6 or more others that's doing the very same thing too, because remember, they cannot be alone. They have to have something, even if it's chaos, whatever, they have to have something. They cannot be on their own. They use their dishonesty to control the situation, such as, let's say they did, hey, I thought it was nice to meet you. Do you want to go out tomorrow night? Well, you yourself might think about this creature is probably chasing after others. You find it difficult to believe that it would just wants to see you of all people when you see it talking to all kinds. This is when you may say, well, what about those other people you talk to? Well, you're likely to hear a story like, oh, those are just people I pretend to like. I want to see you tomorrow night, which again is fake. It is a way to control, because the fact is probably this person has already got 6 other people in line for 6 other days of the next week, but none of that will be shared with you. So if you were to be shy and bashful and say, but I'd be interested, but I'm not that exciting. You seem to have lots of other exciting people in your life. Again, they will use this controlling tactic to make you respond in the way they want by saying, oh, those other people, oh, they mean nothing to me. You know, you're the only one I ever talk to that I even care about. And of course, those are very powerful words to you if you hear such things, even though they're usually phony. But remember, we make decisions based on the information we know. So the narcissistic monster is pretty much a guaranteed con artist. So they've got all this covered. Think about it. Let's just say you met this person at a spur-of-the-moment event and exchanged phone numbers and said, oh, are you sure you're not interested in lots of different people? And you heard the truth. Oh, yes. I've actually got 20 people on my phone. You're number 21, and I'm going to date all of them and see which one's the best, and I know I'm going to get one for my wife or spouse, but do you think they'd say that? No, they wouldn't. But that's usually the reality that's going on. Because you're not made aware of it, you may be tempted to take it to the next step. And that's exactly what the intention is, because these monsters know that if you did know what they were doing on the side, you would probably be repulsed and run away. And they can't have that. And then we get to the subject of supply. Let's just say you did say, really? Those other people don't matter to you? Well, sure, I'd be glad to see you tomorrow. As soon as you hang up that phone, bingo, there is major supply, because this creature is telling itself, I am so good. She bought it. She has no idea. Also, bear in mind that when you get asked by one of these people, and you may question, like we said before, like, what about those other people you hang out with? What you're doing at this point for this type of creature is you are sharing your insecurities with them, which of course in the beginning stages will be covered with, oh, those are just friends, oh, I don't care about them. And what you're doing is revealing your insecurity of possibly losing the attention of this person to one of those persons. And don't think that this monster does not know this. But of course, it's kept in a placeholder and set aside to be used when you probably start to figure out what's really happening. But let's just say that you do start being involved with such a cluster B monster person. Well, I've known at least 3 or more that display these characteristics about the dishonesty factor. When you've dealt with, or if you've dealt with a person like this, with the effortless lying, it's really difficult because something in your head tells you something's not right, but at the same time, you're questioning that and being told, oh, whatever you thought was wrong, oh, it's not, and they have an answer. So you will be tempted to think, well, my intuition must be off today, which other videos we've talked about it, it's not the case. If your intuition's spot on daily with everyone else in your life, but all of a sudden with this one, it's way off, chances are it's a cluster B monster. But one thing I've seen with a few of these is they tell you certain things about certain events, and you see what they're talking about and think it doesn't seem to make sense. And you may question what they're telling you, and after a period of time, you may start to see this person regularly, but there's still strange things that you have no explanation for, and you of course have ideas of what the truth might be, but if you were to ask the cluster B monster, you'd be told, oh no, that's just a friend. Well, what'll happen, or what I've seen a few times, is if you hang around such a person, you're going to hear lie after lie after lie. And normally that would be a deal breaker. And if you're involved with such a person and you're still hanging out with them, and you say, hey, I didn't like that lie you told, you'll probably be given some kind of phony, retarded excuse, such as, I told you I didn't lie, but that thing you're mentioning I lied about, well, that was only because. There'll be some retarded excuse. But the problem is, once you experience a few of these encounters with the lies that come from a person who doesn't ever lie to you, however, you've got 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6 examples of lies, but this person is trying to warp your reality by telling you, oh, I'm honest with you all the time. I don't ever lie about anything. Why are you so distrustful when you can sit there and name 10 lies or more? This is when this type of creature has no accountability and will simply shrink into victim mode. Never mind the fact that this person has up front told you just how honest he or she was, but then proceeded to tell 10 or more lies that you figured out. They've told you something new, and you don't believe it because of the prior experience I just mentioned. So let's say that you take it a step further and you contact some other person involved to clarify, and guess what will happen? You'll probably find out that whatever you're being told is completely false. But if you go back to the cluster B monster and say, I can't believe you told me we couldn't go this weekend to the family's boathouse because the parents are mad at you, that's not what I called them and they said that this was the story, and you'll be chastised with, how dare you check on what I said? Why would you? Of course she'll say that. Why would you ask her this or say that? And da-da-da. And this is all sick. But that's the kind of thing they'll do. And then they'll become the victim by saying, how could you believe what she said over what I did? Again, to a person who's not used to this type of creature, it's very easy to melt and fall and think, oh my goodness, I've made a mistake. But baby, you didn't. And they're looking for people who will feel that way. Because remember, no remorse, no guilt, no shame, which means they can say or do anything as long as it gets them what they want. And who cares if it upsets you? But if you do find yourself dealing with such a creature that has so many dishonesties that you can uncover, the recommendation would be to continue to seek clarification. Because chances are, if you're having to do this, well, you're probably dealing with a very toxic person. And if you were just to say, oh, because you lied to me about that, I'm out of here, it probably would not be successful. So instead, the advice would be to continue to bring up all of the different discrepancies one after the other, and then blanket it with a person who's honest wouldn't have this many lies in their history. And of course, to your face, you'll be given their straight face, I told you why I said that. But the point is, you're sending a message. You're sending a message that you're on to their trash. You're on to the fact that they're phony. And if you continue to dig at it, you'll eventually be discarded, which is actually what you probably want. Because if not, if you try to discard this creature, oh my goodness, you will be in Glenn Close territory. The creature will be at your door. The creature will be at your workplace. The creature will be anywhere, because it's not that they're in love with you and don't want to lose you. It's they want to be in control of the situation. And if you run away, oh, you're messing up with their plans, so they will try anything and everything because they're very sick people. Get rid of it.
I don't know how many times I need to tell you, but I don't lie. I've never lied to you. Still to this day.
All I've told you was the truth.
Deal with it. The truth is, I was totally in love with you. It's you didn't trust me, so I went ahead and did the things I did because you said you didn't trust me. So it's your fault. I don't know what you're getting mad at me for. If you wanted me to stick around, you shouldn't have made those false accusations. Because like that one guy you caught me with, nude in the back of his truck, the only reason I did that was because you once said you thought that maybe I was doing that. So I figured, well, if you think I am doing that, well then I better start doing that. So it's your fault. Nothing to do with me, so don't be blaming me for your mistakes.